Hello and welcome everyone. You are listening to my very first episode of my new podcast brought to you by Sudhakar-musings.org. I am Sudhakar Mohanraj and I am truly glad you are here. So in this, I am teaming up with a few of my closest friends to create something we have been dreaming about but never had the time to do it until now. We wanted a space to talk, reflect, laugh, and maybe even disagree, debate on things that matter to us. And hopefully, it matters to you too. So, what's this podcast all about? At its core, it's a journey through the lives of people I have known closely, friends, colleagues, neighbors, and family members. Basically, individuals I have shared moments and milestones with. And over the years, each one of us have taken, different paths in life, professionally and personally, and even philosophically. I've always wondered, what shape they are thinking, how they've been doing in their journey, how it has unfolded. So I thought, let's have these conversations and why not share this with a wider audience while we are at it. So that's the origin of this podcast, and we will explore a wide range of topics from philosophy and religion to politics and technology and everyday experiences, that make life interesting. We are not experts in everything, but we bring real world stories and candid perspectives and a high dose of curiosity to every episode. Now, full disclaimer, we are all incredibly busy, so I won't make big promises about how often these episodes are going to drop. This might be my first and the last, you never know. But I've been known for my perseverance, so I'm optimistic this will grow into something meaningful. Whether you're commuting, out on a walk, or just relaxing at home, we hope this feels like spending time with old friends who make you think. We are excited to begin this journey. Hit the follow button and let's get started. So, a little bit about me. I'm Sudhakar Mohan Raj. I'm a healthcare IT entrepreneur and technology executive with over 2 decades of experience in the industry. In 2012, I founded Triumph, a company specializing in healthcare data management solutions. So, beyond my professional endeavors, I am passionate about sharing insights and reflections on technology, leadership, and life. I have my own blog post, sudhakar-musings.org. It's a space where I explore topics ranging from AI, healthcare, to personal growth and management strategies. Now, let's come to the topic for today. So, today's podcast, we are going to talk about one of my favorite poets, Thiruvalluvar. His most famous work is Thirukkural. So, Thiruvalluvar was a Tamil philosopher and poet believed to have lived over about 2000 years ago in southern India. So, although details about his life remain a little bit mysterious, his wisdom has echoed through centuries. It has transcended boundaries, geographical boundaries, and languages, and religions, and also time. So his major contribution, the magnus opus, is the Thirukkural. It's a collection of 1,330 couplets or chorals, each just 2 lines long, offering profound insights on ethics, governance, love, and art of living. It's often compared to the works of Confucius for its moral philosophy, and to the book of Proverbs from the Bible for its timeless and universal wisdom. What sets Thirukkural apart is its secular tone. It doesn't preach religion, but it focuses on meaningful life. It's a guide for kings, leaders, householders, commoners, and thinkers alike. Since the topic is about a Tamil poet, in today's episode you will hear a bit of Tamil, which is a language spoken in southern India even today. It is considered one of the oldest languages known to humans, which is still spoken by millions of Tamilians all over the world. So one of my favorite couplets from Thirukkural is எப்பொருள் யாரார் வாய் கேட்பினும் அப்பொருள் மெய்ப்பொருள் காண்பதறிவு. So it roughly translates in English like this: whatever the subject may be, and whoever says it, true wisdom lies in discerning the truth in what is said. Let that sink in for a moment. It's about 2 millennia ago when Thirullar wrote this, and it's about critical thinking and the ability to separate content from the speaker, to evaluate the ideas and their merit rather than status or identity of the person expressing them. If related to today's world, it echoes chambers about misinformation and influencer culture which we are having today, and it is more relevant today than any other day. So it's a call to seek truth objectively, regardless of the source. So that is one of my favorites. So with this, let me introduce, in today's episode, I'm going to interview two of my best friends about this topic. I've known them for the past 30 years, and they know far more about Thiruvalluvar than me. So here we have today with us Ram Prasad, who is joining us from San Jose, California, USA. Ram Prasad, or Rampi, is running product marketing at a AI startup. Then we have AG Suresh Babu joining us from Bangalore, Karnataka state in India. AG Suresh Babu, or AG, is leading technology and architecture for a leading telecom provider. So I'll let them now share a bit more about themselves. Rampi.
Yeah, thanks, Sudhakar. It's a pleasure joining this, and Thirukkural is one of my most favorite topic. Just as a quick intro, I'm a kind of a avid reader, if you want to call it that way. I've dabbled in multiple philosophies, and I've spent close to my life on reading different philosophical works. I'm not an expert, of course. None of us are expert, but I do have some understanding on many of the philosophical works, and Thirukkural for it's one of the amazing texts. Personally, avid reader. I hike a lot, outdoors person. I live outdoors. I would like to live outdoors, and I live to be in the outdoors. Enough about me.
Yeah, thank you, Rampi. We know you're an avid hiker. I'm glad that you're joining from home today, not from a summit. So, AG, please introduce yourself.
Thanks, Sudhakar. Happy to join this podcast. I mean, if I have to say something about myself in this context, exploring the work of the great Thiruvalluvar, I'm more a fanboy, of these kind of personalities who are just exalted human beings, who are like having uh, perception beyond the normal human beings. I'm always enthralled by people like Ramanujan, for example, the greatest mathematician. um, I mean, he was doing black hole mathematics, when black hole was not really seen. There is no James Webb up there, to see that black holes or do mathematics out of it. But he did that mathematics at that time, and that's superior perception. So Thiruvalluvar is of that kind. He talked about a lot of things in Thirukkural. He talked about life in general. He talked about various aspects of how to live. That's not possible by one human being in one lifetime. Now, he has covered such gamut of array of topics that he must be an exalted being, having very deep perception of life. Yeah. So I am a fanboy here. I'm happy to, read his work and interpret it, read the people who have done, work with him. I'm just more enjoying the ride here. Back to you, Sudhakar.
Yeah, thank you, AG. And I think it's a good segue into the next question, which I have written up, which is starting from the basics, right? Like, what is Thirukkural? Because a lot of people today are, even the Tamilians and the South Indians, gone all over the world. They may not know much about this poetry or this poet. So, what is Thirukkural, and who is Thiruvalluvar, and what does Thirukkural talk about? You covered a little bit, but if you guys can expand on it, that'll be great.
Yeah. So I can start, AG. So we all know the basics, right? Written by Thiruvalluvar about 2000 years ago. People debate the what is called as a antequem and postquem, which is what is the range of the timing. So we can safely say it is after the time of Agasthian grammar, because Kural uses modern grammar, which is modern Tamil grammar, which is called Tolkappiyam, which is the grammar of the Sangam literature, which is the ancient literature of Manimegalai, Jivagasintamani, and all that. So we know that it uses modern grammar, not the ancient, now not available grammar, right? So, but we can say anywhere between 2000 years to, let's say, 1500 years ago, 1330 couplets, what is called as a kural. It specifically, it is set into a specific meter. We'll talk about that. And it covers broadly three topics, right? Virtues, how to lead a life as a family, as an individual. How do you acquire wealth, and how do you manage? It's not just wealth, but property. And then that ties to leadership as well, right? Very deftly, it ties to leadership, and some rules for the leader, king, and leaders, and so on and so forth. And then, how do you seek pleasure? How do you live with love and kindness? Those three are the topics. AG, feel free to weigh in.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, Rambi. I think we were talking at some point in time, in the past about, Kural being, it's not just a part, it is not just a song, it is called Kural part, which is, or Kurum part, I mean, from the Tolkappiyam legacy, which is, it's a declaration, as you said, to me at that time. It is more like somebody who has lived through, all these things that he is writing, and then declaring, oh, hey, this is it, this is what it is. So this work. I mean, I see the way the choral is also structured. We will see later in this podcast. It is structured in a way that it's a declaration of truth, declaration of somebody who has perceived something. So I mean, it's rightly called Thirukkural. Thiru means sacred, and Kural, you can call it sacred verses or sacred text.
Yep. And then very quickly, we will have a separate session on the grammar, which is grammar and the language, which itself is a very fascinating topic. It is basically 1.5 sentence. Okay. So it's called Venba meter. The meter is called Venba, and specifically, it's called Kural Venba because Kural Venba is a shorter Venba meter, 1.5 sentences. And it follows two types of song term. Okay, so one is called near, straight. The other one is called nirai, which is two syllables, monosyllable and two syllable. Like for example, monosyllable is, let's say, kal. So ka, you speak the word ka, and then you say kal. Nil. So that is single syllable word with a vowel or something like that. And then the other thing is malar or iravu. So that is like two syllables joined together. So those two words, one is called ner, which is straight, the other one is called nirai. And these two join together to form the Venn meter, right? So you can have a short and long, short and short, long and long, something like that, right? So there's a fourfold possibilities. And these get assembled into very, very strict rules, grammatical rules, and there is also musicality towards this. So he not only is communicating a bold declaration in every one of these corals, but he also conforms to strict grammar and also the musicality of the system as well.
Yeah, that's amazing, especially, the length of it being like 1.5 sentence, like going back to the previous example, just for the benefit of those who are not familiar with this poetry. I'll go back to the previous example I said earlier. Epporul yararvai கேட்பினும் அப்பொருள் மெய்ப்பொருள் காண்பது அறிவு. It's like 7 words put into like 1.5 sentence, and it is packed so much with meaning. Later on we'll go through the interpretations. Different people can interpret it in different ways, all positive. So one of the other famous poets who lived, probably a contemporary during the time, is Abayar, and she praised Thirukkural and the amount of knowledge packed in each of these 1.5 sentence by saying அணுவாய் துளைத்து ஏழு கடலை கட்டி குறுகத் தரித்த குரல். So what it means is the size of this poetry is so small that it is like taking an atom and making a hole in the atom and sinking in 7 oceans into that hole. So such is the power of this poetry. So going to the next question. So considering the age of this work, which is like more than 2000 years old, the question I have in my mind is it still applicable for today's world? So I want to hear your thoughts on that.
Say that this is let me put it this way, right? I mean, this is the first question I got, right? When I studied this Thirukkural, I mean, when I was a young kid and then looking at this Tamil text, then saying, okay, this is Thirukkural, and what is the, I mean, ninth and 10th graders, Rampi was talking about this, Vaipaadu, that it's about how the choral is composed and how does it get that musical texture. And, we were asked in our class, to just divide this choral into this, near SI, near SI and all that. So we are able to how this musicality is brought into this couplet. So they were actually asking us to do this work, and I was asking the same question at that time. How is it relevant for me? And that I'm just a kid and I'm just learning something. And what is this karka kasadara or agara mudra eluthallam? What does it mean for me? Um, if I ask the same question today, right? I mean, having spent quite a bit of time, having gone through different facets of life, I would say that, there are certain things that stay the same, in life. The context varies. Maybe if I'm born 1,000 years ago, maybe I'm not dabbling with computers, and maybe I'm doing some poetry or something that is, very, I would say, very basic and very, very much part of the creation at that point in time. And right now I'm here and I'm doing something with telecom. So it's like that. The structure of life or the very basis of life is the same, right? When you're born, that determines what you do. So I think that when he talks about aram porul inbam, the virtue and how you build up wealth, how can you live joyfully? Aren't they the same now, right? I mean, we are earning money, we may be a computer scientist and you're doing AI and whatever, but these three facets of life still remains the same, isn't it? So I vehemently think that, this whole thing is, Quran is very much applicable, very much relevant, for current times.
Makes
Yeah.
sense.
100%. It is for normal householder. It's approachable. It's not approachable. It's very approachable. That's what we've discovered when we started translating. We'll talk about the problems in the translation, but it's very approachable, very direct. But at the same time, it's also deeply philosophical, right? So if you want to eke more out of that, you can get a lot more out of that as well. So it's very relevant. It's targeted for normal householders, normal people who conduct their life.
Yeah, and humans have been the same irrespective of, when they started as Homo sapiens, and even today there is still war going on everywhere, and it's the same problem, which is never going away. So good. So the next question I have is a little bit more about the author Thiruvalluvar, his history, where is he from, like the origin story of his masterpiece, Thirukkural. If you guys can share a little bit more about that, that'll be great.
Yeah. So let's put the modern version, okay? And then we can talk about AG can weigh in on the problems. The modern version is he's born in current Chennai, Mylapore, and he's more than 2,000 years old, 2,000, 3,000 year old in Sangakalam. Uh, and he's a neutral person. He's from the weaver community, which also implies that anyone can rise. Caste is not the issue. Uh, and he's an accomplished person. He has a wife. We don't know about his children. There is also things that he's part of a family his dad and mom. Dad is a Brahmin and mom is like untouchable, and they had seven children. He is one of the seven children, and Avayar is his sister, and so on and so forth. That's the kind of the popular myth, right? And it lends itself to a lot of nice political, socio-political, and cultural affiliations. I'll stop there. That's the popular myth. AG, maybe you can unpack what we know from reality.
I really don't know, if I'm able to uncover more facts, than what you said. And no disrespect to the question, Sudhakar, but I personally feel that, this whole thing doesn't matter because his work speaks for itself. And sometimes, what matters, when we were actually interpreting, and trying to understand and, decipher what he was saying, probably we wanted to see, what is the time period in which he lived, and who are the other contemporaries and who are the other people, who are in those times, and what kind of knowledge he had, at that point in time. I think apart from the time frame, time period he lived in, I felt that, it doesn't matter, where he came from, what he did, the kind of perception he has, and the kind of poetry is able to, turn out, that's phenomenal, right? So, I mean, I don't have much more facts to add. I would say it doesn't matter.
In fact, whatever I said is not facts. That's the popular
Okay.
narrative, the current
Okay.
popular narrative. From a technical perspective, scholarly perspective, we have no idea because he carefully avoids any affiliations, any timeline. Surgically he avoids any time dimensions, any cultural dimensions, any religious dimensions. He doesn't share any dimensions other than the three topics that he sticks to. So the Quran itself doesn't tell you anything. Most of the other texts alludes to things, right? So therefore, scholars establish timeline based on other texts that has some time affiliations, and that's how we arrive at anywhere from 1,500 years to whatever 2,000 years. But we don't know all these things about Avayar, this, that, Vasuki. All that is all popular appendages that got appended for convenience sake.
Right. And somebody's work is famous, or when it becomes famous, then they become relatives and friends of all of us. It's like everybody wants to be their best friend. So yeah, and like AG said, maybe it doesn't matter, the history. And like you said, Rampi, like if he really wanted to write about himself, when his poetry is saved for this 2000 years, it wouldn't take long for him to write about himself and his history, right? And I think consciously he avoided that. I think only noble people can think like that, right? So it's interesting. So in terms of comparing him to other popular philosophers in the world, how do you compare him, and where would you place him? Who are the parallels or who are the anti-parallels?
Yeah. So there is a very strong uh, connotation that he might be a proto-Buddhist or a proto-Jaina. But it's been debated heavily. It's been, because there is a strong affiliation to vegetarianism and so on and so forth. So there is a thinking that he might be a proto-Jaina or a crypto-Jaina or a crypto-Buddhist, right? But we can tell for sure, if you read the material carefully, we can tell for sure that's not true. Both of it is not true. And with respect to his philosophy, he doesn't sign up to any dogma, right? Any philosophical dogma. Like if I'm a Hindu, in a manner of speaking, right? A Hindu as a class of beliefs and religion, common beliefs, right? If I'm a Hindu or if I'm a Buddhist, I subscribe to specific set of dogma, right? About cosmology, about genealogy, about origin story, and so on and so forth. He doesn't subscribe to any of that. Okay, Buddhist has certain dogma, Jaina has certain dogma, do's and injunction to do or not to do, right? He only merely challenges. He doesn't say, don't do this. He says, what's the point of doing this? What, like he puts it gently. Why would you do that? Right? So there is no dogma, there is no affiliation. There is, that gives you an ability to bend it to your likings. So if I'm a Buddhist writer, there are translation where Thirukkural is ported into Buddhist lens. There are Thirukkural that's translated to Jaina lens. There is strong set of translations available into Hindu Saiva lens, right? Because there is an allusion that he subscribed to caste system, but none of that is evident from this. So we can't tell any affiliations, but we can say for sure that he avoids any sorts of religious or philosophical dogma. We know that he's Tamil because he has a strong sense of the what is called as a thinai, time. He has a sense of time, and in his particularly on the Inbattipal, so you know that he's Tamilian, and he's very egalitarian and broad-minded.
Mhm. Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, while, it's going through the Kural, I think Rampi, you made a very, very important point that one cannot find out, when he lived and what is he ascribing to. I mean, what kind of, is he tilting towards certain religion, or is he, going towards certain philosophy or belief? I don't see any of them. I think the let's say the landscape of the land of philosophy or philosophers, I'm not a scholar, but when you look at philosophy, it looks more like the philosophers are describing the reality, in a more abstract, and creating patterns out of that, and then they're trying to say, okay, this is how the life is weaving itself, right? This is how the philosophy is coming up. But when you look at Thiruvalluvar, he's not really observing anything. It looks like he has perceived it. That means he has lived it, and he is declaring what he lived, right? So if you look at Confucius, or Socrates, Aristotle, Plato, all these people, you can very clearly see that the Western philosophy is more about, it's more mind oriented, right? I mean, it is about intellectually perceiving things, or intellectually observing things, and then abstracting, and then coming out with certain dogma, certain belief system or philosophy. But this man is the other way around. While that is maybe looks more like reverse engineering, this is forward engineering, right? So he says this is aram, this is virtue, and this is how one has to live to ensure that there are other certain side effects you can avoid. So it's more like forward straight path.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think, like you said, he is probably one of the few people who lived a life and then wrote about it rather than, just thinking about it from at abstract level. So, in terms of his translations of his work and interpretations, conscious or unconscious interpretations of his work, uh, many people say there's a bias in how things have been translated and interpreted. So, can you tell me a little bit more? What are your thoughts on that?
Um, sure. This is where we kind of are why we are doing this comes in.